Hi, this is Matt Ferguson with ExecPiX. I often get asked about working with models, and today we have a model with us, so she can talk to you about doing that. This is Birgit DeVae is with us. Hi, Birgit.
Hi! Happy to be here.
Thank you. I'm glad to have you with us. So we've been talking a little bit about modeling and about what thought goes into it, what processes go into it, what kind of practice goes into it. And I wanted to get your sense for modeling. What do you think about when you're modeling?
Well, it kind of totally depends on what you're doing. If it's more of an advertisement or kind of an actual booking where you're focusing on a product, obviously the focus is on the product. You are there as just a person to make the product look good and make people want to buy the product. If you're doing more high fashion work or headshots, things like that, it's where it gets a lot more fun. You get to kind of tap into different emotions, kind of portray who and whatever you want to be in whatever light that you can think of, which is really fun. Just kind of getting to express different emotions or be able to kind of show yourself in a different way that maybe you wouldn't normally be, or, be able to kind of portray in regular day life.
So there's a lot of acting involved, really.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, the camera, the photos on the other end, the camera has to believe what you are trying to be. If you're trying to be really serious, you can't, be thinking of jokes in your head. Obviously, you're going to look ridiculous. You're going to look like you're laughing. Because it really is all in your eyes, and they always say your eyes are your windows to your soul. So you kind of have to be really tapped into those deep emotions in order to really be the part that you're trying to be.
Well, I know you. I've known you for years, and I know that you're a very optimistic, kind of positive, bubbly kind of person. But then there's times when you need to perform, to model, to act in a more serious way or a passionate way or a mysterious way. Is that a challenge, or tell me about that?
Yes and no. Like I've always said I really wanted to play a villain in a movie because in real life I am this like happy, bubbly, optimistic person. And I kind of I don't really get upset about things. I kind of let things brush off my shoulders. I don't really hold grudges. So I've always just really wanted to be able to be and feel this like villainous, like evil, mean, like grouchy person. So it's really fun getting to do that and experience that through modeling. Like if you're doing more of high fashion things and really trying to kind of portray a character like that, it's really fun, and especially for me because it's not necessarily emotions that I'm feeling on a daily basis, but I definitely feel them. It just being able to kind of like tap into that and really kind of invest who I am and kind of be able to be that character for a short period of time is super refreshing and really, really fun.
And tapping into other models too. There's times when you work with 2 or 3 models. Is that a positive experience? Is that harder? Is it easier? Tell me about that.
Yeah, I would say absolutely. Most of the time, it's amazing, and it's so much better because you're getting to feed off the energies of everybody else. Obviously, if someone there isn't really feeling it or isn't really invested in what's going on, it can be a lot more challenging because you're trying to kind of make something work and the energy isn't kind of meshing. But if everyone is there and kind of in the moment, in the zone, being able to feed off of each other is fantastic. And you can kind of go to places that you wouldn't think of on your own. Just getting to kind of work off other people and what they're doing and their body language and kind of the vibe that they're sending off. You get to feed off that yourself.
Now, are there times when you get to help with the concept or the wardrobe or things like that, or maybe during a test with a photographer, you might have some access to bringing your own props and wardrobe and things like that? Tell me about that.
Yeah. So again, totally depends on the shoot. I would say most of the time for bookings and jobs, like it's just you show up and this is what you're wearing and this is what you're doing. But especially for like test shoots or headshots or kind of working with photographers, most times you're going to be bringing your own wardrobe, working with props. If you have props you want to bring, you can bring those. And it's really fun to kind of going into it with an idea, like I kind of like this outfit, thinking of this kind of vibe, and then getting to work with a photographer and using actually, their vision and their eye and what they're good at, to kind of really make everything come to life is just amazing.
I think as a photographer myself, I think I know what you mean about what they're good at, because your style with your photography is much like your handwriting. It's much like your signature, and the kind of tools that you build up over the years, your images come out looking like that, and the other photographer looks totally different. Now, tell me about working with different photographers. How is it? Do you see a big change, personalities and the way people work? And talk to me about a little about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's as different as everyone that you meet on the street. And it's really cool. And that's part of why I love being in this business, getting to work with the different kind of people and different personalities and the way that different people like to work, because you're constantly evolving and able to kind of pick up on things that you're learning. You go into some shoots and no one wants to talk, just show up, do your thing, get in, in and out, like just kind of zipping along. Other times it's, you're telling them your life story and then you're best friends and you're getting drinks the next week. So it's...
That sounds more fun.
It kind of varies. But it's also really, kind of what I was saying about doing what you're good at. Like, even if you go into a shoot, even if it's a test shoot or a shoot for yourself, you want to portray a certain thing. Going into it from a model perspective is completely different than the photographer end. Like, you know what the clothes look like on your body and kind of what you want yourself to be looking like. But that isn't necessarily what's going to come across on the lens. So definitely making sure you're relying on your photographer and listening to them, because they're the ones ultimately that know what it's going to look like on the other end of the shot. Even if it isn't necessarily what you had envisioned going into it from the model perspective, kind of trusting them, most times you'll be able to get what you want. Pause.
I hear water. Are you in a tropical area where there's a lot of a rainforest?
No, I wish. It is raining though.
What do you wish you knew when you first started that you know now? If you could talk to the... Yeah, you were a child actor, right? You did things in plays and stuff. Start with that and then talk a little bit about what you would maybe do differently or wish you knew differently.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was in my first play. I was in the opera Madame Butterfly when I was 3. I didn't have any speaking lines. It was a very minor role, but I've been acting my entire life and singing, and I started modeling when I was 12. But before that, I was in musical theater and acting my whole life. I lived in LA for 2 years, in 8th grade and freshman year of high school, going out there for pilot season. And then I pursued it in Chicago. I grew up in Wisconsin. And then after I moved to Chicago in 2011, I really kind of picked it up again and have been doing it ever since. I would say the biggest thing, just looking back, obviously not really when I was a little kid, but when I was in LA and it was really confidence, like especially in LA, you're going to, these castings, these auditions, and there's 200 people that look basically exactly the same as you do. And, it can be really overwhelming and daunting and scary, especially as a teenager. But really being able to kind of know who you are and show off who you are and be confident in that is the best. So
getting back to the modeling, still photography parts, do you have a sort of a portfolio of modeling moves? Are there certain things where you practice in the mirror and you know that that's going to be great? And I've heard some models actually name them or call it a number. That's number 3, number 5. Or sometimes I've seen models where they go through the same routine. They start and they do number 1 and number 2 and number 3 and number 4, and they work through it. But do you have that? Do you have that kind of repertoire of modeling moves?
Somewhat. A lot of it, obviously there's like definitely practicing in the mirror different emotions, like frowning, sad, laughing, happy, sad, kind of learning what you look like in different emotions is something that you definitely have to be able to know. One of my eyes, like if I'm in a certain angle, it looks like it's half closed. So kind of knowing those kinds of things, like where do I have this tiny little gap in my teeth and how do I kind of angle my face so that isn't seen. Otherwise, I definitely have positions that I, gravitate towards and kind of feel comfortable doing. But my styles, I like feeding off the energy of the photographer in the room and kind of what's going on and what you're trying to portray. And really it's like a fluid thing, and kind of, it's almost a dance. Like I feel like I'm entering into this zone and I'm doing my dance and I'm getting to kind of express those emotions and those things that I don't necessarily get to do all the time.
There's times as a photographer too where you're working with a model and it might start off slow or something, and then suddenly, boom, it just starts working, and these great images are just jumping into the camera, and that could go on. That could last for 10 minutes, or that could last for 5 hours. You never, and it just and the stuff just great stuff keeps pouring into the camera, and it's almost like, for me, it's almost like music, where when you hear some jazz piece or some song where they're just in the groove and they're just like, it's one of these like 12-minute songs on a radio station or something, and when they're in a groove and they just don't want to stop, it's like effortless, or it's like a runner, a marathoner, when they get into the zone, and it's just
oh, it's the best.
Yeah, you feel that, huh? Do you feel that?
Oh, absolutely. Like some shots, it's just easy peasy. You kind of do your handful of shots and then they got it and that's it. And then other times it just kind of keeps going and you get to the point that something has to happen. Like you get a text message or someone gets a call, or like the SD card is full on the camera or something. Then you're like, oh, all right, well, we just shot 500 pictures of this. I think we're okay.
Well, I think that's wonderful. I appreciate you being with us and telling me a little bit about your career.
Of course. Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, thanks very much, and we'll see you on set.
Perfect.